Life is full of surprises, and sometimes, the ones that shake us the most come from the people we least expect. My name is Anna, and for the longest time, I thought I knew how my life would go. I had a husband, John, who loved me in his quiet way. We had a small, peaceful home, enough for the two of us, a life that was comfortable but not extraordinary. Yet, the ordinary sometimes hides sparks that can set your entire world on fire. It all began when Michael came into our lives. He was John's friend from college, someone I had met only a few times at gatherings. Michael had a charm that was effortless. He smiled in a way that made people feel safe and noticed in a way that made you wonder if he could see right into your soul. I didn't pay much attention at first. After all, he was just my husband's friend, someone who existed in our lives on the surface. But life has a way of letting tiny cracks open doors to unexpected things. The first evening Michael visited alone, John had a late meeting at work, so it was just the two of us in the living room. I offered him tea, trying to make conversation, but I could feel the air between us changing almost instantly. He was polite, yet his gaze lingered, just long enough for me to feel a flutter of something I hadn't felt in years. I tried to shake it off, reminding myself, he is just my husband's friend. But the words felt hollow even as I repeated them. Michael had a way of talking that made time disappear. He asked about my work, my life, even things I didn't usually share with anyone, not even John. I found myself laughing at jokes that were only half funny and leaning forward slightly when he spoke. It was innocent at first, just companionship, but there was an undercurrent, a subtle tension that I couldn't ignore. Over the following weeks, Michael came over more often. At first, it was for John to help with projects, or sometimes just to catch up. But the moments we shared when John was busy or away were different. Our conversations would stretch late into the night, and I began to notice things about him, how he listened when I spoke, the small touches that lingered a second too long, the way his eyes would soften when he looked at me. I knew I was entering dangerous territory. I could feel it every time he smiled at me. Every time our hands brushed by accident, or maybe not by accident. My heart would race, and a heat would rise to my cheeks. I had been comfortable, perhaps too comfortable, in my life with John. The passion that Michael sparked reminded me of a side of myself that I had buried, hidden under years of routine, under the quiet love of my husband. One evening, after a long day, John had stayed late at work. Michael had come over to check on some files, but when he arrived, we ended up sitting together in the living room, the air thick with something neither of us admitted. I tried to focus on a book I was reading, but he was close, his presence magnetic. "Anna, can I be honest with you?" he asked softly, his voice low, almost trembling. I nodded, though a part of me wished I could have turned and run. "I think about you," he said, and my heart stopped. I swallowed hard. I think about you too," I admitted, barely a whisper. And just like that, the dam broke. The tension, the longing, the forbidden desire we had both tried to ignore, surged forward like a wave. I didn't know how it happened, how we ended up in the bedroom, but the moment was alive with a fire I hadn't felt in years. It was terrifying and thrilling all at once. He was gentle, careful, but passionate in a way that left me breathless. I kept thinking of John, of the life I had built, but the desire was overwhelming. In those moments, nothing existed outside that room, outside the intensity of the connection between us. Every kiss, every touch, every whispered word was a stolen treasure, dangerous and unforgettable. Afterwards, as we lay tangled together, the reality of what we had done sank in. Guilt gnawed at me, sharp and bitter, but beneath it was an undeniable truth. I had felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. Michael didn't pressure me for more than I was willing to give. He was patient, careful, and the intensity of our connection grew in subtle, dangerous ways. In the days that followed, I tried to focus on John, to return to my life, but Michael's presence lingered like a shadow. Our interactions became a dangerous dance, innocent touches when no one was looking, lingering glances, shared jokes that hinted at something more. Every moment with him was thrilling, forbidden, and utterly intoxicating. One evening, while preparing dinner, Michael appeared in the kitchen, casual but deliberate. "I needed to see you," he said, and I felt my heart leap. Our hands brushed as he handed me a book from the counter, and the electricity between us sparked again. "I can't stop thinking about you," he whispered. "I can't stop thinking about you either," I admitted, my voice trembling. It was reckless, dangerous, but we both craved it. That night, it happened again. Short, intense, and private. Each encounter was a mixture of fear and desire, guilt and longing. I kept telling myself it was a mistake, that it couldn't happen again, but deep down, I wanted it, craved it, and a part of me wondered if I would ever be the same again. Despite the intensity, nothing permanent came of it. He didn't get me pregnant, and perhaps fate had spared me from an even greater disaster. That alone felt like a relief, a fragile thread of safety in the chaos of my emotions. Weeks turned into months, and Michael and I continued our secret, careful moments. Life with John carried on as usual, though I felt a subtle shift in myself. I realized how much I had been missing in our marriage: attention, connection, intimacy, passion, and that Michael had awakened a side of me that had been asleep for too long. I loved John deeply, but I also understood that love wasn't enough. It required attention, desire, and care. One weekend, John planned a trip for work, leaving me alone at home. Michael stopped by under the pretense of helping with some house repairs, but we both knew the truth. That afternoon, the tension exploded into passion again, and I surrendered to the desire I could no longer deny. We were reckless, our desire consuming us, but there was an intimacy that went beyond the physical. It was as if our souls recognized each other in ways I had never experienced before. In the quiet moments afterward, Michael and I lay together, tangled in the sheets, hearts racing. "I know this is dangerous," he murmured, "but I can't stay away from you." "I know," I whispered. "I feel the same. But I love John too. I don't want to lose him." Our affair became a balance of secrecy, passion, and guilt. Every stolen glance, every brush of hands, was a reminder of what we were risking. But it also made life more alive, more thrilling. I found myself more attentive to John, more loving, more present. In a strange way, the danger with Michael had made me realize how much I still loved my husband, how much I wanted to cherish the life we had built. Then came the night that changed everything. John returned from his trip early, surprising me at home. Michael had just left, and I felt a pang of panic. I knew the danger was real now. What if John noticed the tension, the lingering scent of Michael, the glimmer in my eyes? I spent hours convincing myself that nothing had changed, that everything would be fine, but inside, I knew the truth. My secret was too heavy to carry forever. I began to reflect on everything that had happened. Michael was a beautiful, dangerous memory, a spark of passion that had awakened something inside me. But John was my life, my heart, my home. I knew I had to let go, to focus on my marriage and rebuild the intimacy that had faded over the years. It was painful, almost unbearable, but necessary. Michael eventually stopped visiting as often, and life slowly returned to a new rhythm. I spent more time with John, more moments together, more laughter, more care. I learned to communicate again, to listen, to be present. The memory of Michael remained, a ghost of temptation and passion, but it also reminded me of what I needed to nurture in my marriage. Looking back now, I don't regret the moments with Michael. They were dangerous, intense, and fleeting, but they taught me lessons about love, desire, and the fragility of human hearts. I realized that life is unpredictable, that passion can awaken dormant desires, and that love requires constant attention, effort, and connection. I am Anna, and this is my story, not one of shame, but of discovery, of passion, and of learning to value the love I already had. Michael was just my husband's friend, until he surprised me. And in the end, I survived, I learned, and I returned to the life that truly mattered, my life with John. Life moves on, but some surprises, some passions, stay with you forever. They remind you of who you are, what you desire, and what it truly means to love. And I will never forget the lessons I learned, the fire I felt, and the man who reminded me that even the most ordinary life can hold extraordinary moments.